Hi everybody, my name's Dr. Jonathan Weekly. I'm a research fellow here at Leeds Beckett University. I'm originally from New Zealand. I studied at the University of Otago. I then travelled over to Australia and studied at Edith Cowan University and University of Wollongong, and then finally made it over to the UK to do my PhD and resistance training. So today I'm going to talk about supersets and trisets. So often as a coach I hear athletes saying, I don't have enough time to train, or I hear other coaches saying, I don't have enough time with my athlete. Therefore, I wanted to investigate how we could be more time efficient with our resistance training so that we have more time. The aim of the study was to investigate the acute and short-term effects of traditional superset and triset volume and intensity equated resistance training protocols on perceptions of training intensity and metabolic, neuromuscular, and endocrine responses in well-trained male athletes. When we scroll down to the results, the first thing that we can see is that supersets and trisets are very, very time effective. We also see that when we start to reduce the recovery time, we increase the rate of perceived exertion. Alternatively though, we start to reduce the SRPE or the sessional perceived load. This indicates that SRPE or sessional perceived load is not the best way to maybe monitor resistance training structures that are based around efficiency. As we start to reduce the recovery time, we also start to see increases in lactate, and which suggests that this may be causing greater metabolic distress. This greater metabolic distress is most likely causing changes in neuromuscular responses. Immediately post, we saw decreases in the traditional condition and the counter movement jump height. This is most likely due to the athletes actually cooling down during the routine because they had too much time to recover. At 24 hours though, we start to see the interesting stuff. We see that the supersets and the trisets still had not returned to baseline with their neuromuscular function. This suggests that we reduce training time, we reduce the recovery time, we increase the metabolic response, but we also increase the amount of time it takes to return to normal neuromuscular function. When we look at the endocrine responses, we can see that, well, testosterone is highly fluctuating. Possible improvements or increases in testosterone at 24 hours in the superset condition. But we also see that cortisol had the largest decrease in the traditional resistance training routine. This suggests that as we add in greater amounts of recovery, we have smaller neuroendocrine responses. So we actually saw decreases in cortisol. When we look at the creatine kinase responses, we see that the supersets and trisets had very likely increases in creatine kinase. This suggests that muscle damage had increased in the superset and triset resistance training routines when compared to the traditional. So what we now know is that time decreases, they find it harder, they have greater metabolic responses, their neuromuscular responses take longer to return to baseline, and that supersets and trisets have greater changes in muscle damage. So as a coach, how can we utilize supersets and trisets? Well, we should consider utilizing supersets and trisets during time-constrained periods or when other training outcomes require increased training time. Decreased training time in the gym may mean more time developing another skill. Alternatively, we could actually utilize supersets and trisets as a form of metabolic conditioning. This may help improve work capacity in an athlete as the training efficiency or the kilograms lifted per minute rapidly increases. Finally, it should be noted that when we utilize supersets and trisets, there is increased need for recovery. So from my perspective, perhaps we should place the supersets and trisets at the start of the resistance training week when we have more time to recover. Additionally, we could also utilize the traditional training structures and place them towards the end of the week so that we have a greater chance to recover and return back to normal homeostasis. Thanks a lot for having me on, Rob. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you, mate. To anyone who wants to have a chat about rugby, research, or resistance training, I'm always here. Feel free to contact me on my Twitter, or feel free to contact me on my Leeds Becker email. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. We'll catch up again soon. Bye-bye.